In the last Democratic debate, one of the candidates called climate change, quote, the most important international problem that we're facing, end of quote. But before we want to talk about it, I want to play a real quick clip. And no, it's not Greta Thunberg. Many of you will think that this is her. This is actually a 12-year-old Canadian girl addressing the United Nations back in 1992. We'll just play a little clip from her speech back then in 1992.
We've raised all the money to come here ourselves, to come 5,000 miles to tell you adults you must change your ways. Coming up here today, I have no hidden agenda. I am fighting for my future. Losing my future is not like losing an election or a few points on the stock market. I am here to speak for all generations to come. I am here to speak on behalf of the starving children around the world whose cries go unheard. I am here to speak for the countless animals dying across this planet because they have nowhere left to go. I am afraid to go out in the sun now because of the holes in our ozone. I am afraid to breathe the air because I don't know what chemicals are in it.
All right, that was Severn Kula Suzuki. She's a 12-year-old Canadian girl then. Now we're talking 28 years later. She's almost 40 years old, I think. She's still, alive, breathing good air. Real quick, we only have about a minute here. But Tom, what's your reaction when you hear something like that from back in the early 90s, and we're hearing the same thing again now in 2019?
Well, it's maddening. It's exploitation of children. That's number one. And I think it was W.C. Fields said something, made some remark, maybe some of the other guests will know, made some remark about, never following children on stage or something like that. And I think this is what happens. This is an orchestrated event in both cases, almost identically orchestrated, in fact. And what you have is a situation where a child is being used to make for political leverage, basically, because nobody dares say a child is wrong. And that's the problem. And we're just simply being manipulated by a media that has been graduated from journalism school, where they're no longer taught to do journalism but are told to do advocacy.
I like that. Dave, what do you think? Tom just said that the media is manipulating. It seems pretty accurate to me. What do you think?
Well, I agree. And the W.C. Fields quote that he's referring to is where Fields said, never work with animals or children because they'll upstage you every time. But the fact of the matter is, this is the consummate example of exploitation of children. And, the name of the young lady is different than Greta Thunberg, but the approach is the same. And what is amazing to me, and the madness that was just stated, is the fact that all these years later, this lady is still alive as far as we know, and she's doing just fine. So whether it's 1992 or 2019, the insanity continues.
She's still alive, and she's still pushing climate change and environmental correctness and all these sort of things. So, yeah, so nothing new under the sun, as King Solomon said.